came out of AT&T. So as you can see, this poem has, like I said, this poem has wings. It has gone just about everywhere and is still moving, right? Even the workshop that you are participating in today is part of the life and blood of this poem. So the poet, Samaj, she happens to be the poet laureate for the city of Flint. And the city of Flint has declared this week Black Dandelion Week. And some additional good news came out yesterday. They declared yesterday Samaj Brown Day, right? So we got this text and I was like, oh, that is so awesome, right? So just like we celebrate, other leaders, presidents on President's Day or MLK on MLK Day, right? We've got a Samaj Day. We've got a day to celebrate poetry and the goodness that poetry brings to life, right? Inside of National Poetry Month, right? So this is just a really awesome time. We're all really, really excited. And I just want you to know that you are part of a bigger community and conversation around this poem and the power of poetry, right? So it's not just us here in this room. There are schools and other programs and libraries around the country and around the world that are celebrating poetry this month and that are doing that by looking at this particular poem, right? So now I'm going to turn things back over to Darolyn, who's going to do another reading.
Thank you. You did an excellent job. So the history of this poem calls, again, Flint poet laureate Samaj Brown to create Black Dandelion Convergent Voice, which is an integrative, thank you, literacy education platform. The title of the teaching method is PSL, Poetry as a Second Language, the Samajian method. This means that Samaj created a poem that can be used to teach any subject. Someone is doing a workshop on science and the actual seedings and germination process of the dandelion plant. Another group is doing a workshop on neurology. This poem can be used to show how one can teach math and poetry. A couple years ago, we went to a conference and they had a lot of art. The students created art. And I think those were students who had a young man had been killed. Remember that? A young man had been killed, and all the students, one way they healed was they created art. And they brought the pictures and showed us the pictures. And last year, I believe, was the year that they had the dance that Samaj led. So just all different types of disciplines can be used in this poem. For my purpose today, we will use the poem to show you how to understand poetry. This is Poetry Month. One of my favorite types of literature is poetry. So now it's time for us to pass out the poem and have you look at the poem as it is read and see what kind of feelings you get from the poem. And she has it up there too. So just so I really was concerned about you being able to see the poems and see the words in the poem. You got one first? Mary, you got one?
Yeah. That's just one? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thanks. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just kind of, see what you get from it as you look at the words yourself and hear the poem read. Black Dandelion by Samaj Brown. Age 4, witnessed my first mow down. Twinkling ground stars cut by a murderous lawnmower. Feeling the blade, I fell, curled like a snail in grief. 12 full moons folded into spring. Perennial promises prevailed. Bees celebrated return of dandelions in a skirt of twirling yellow bliss. Flowering bouffant mirrored my spiky little afro. Jagged edge lion's tooth leaves paid tribute to my snagger-tooth smile. Me and my freedom fighting flowers frolicked to survive the scissoring, updigging, poisoning. Warning signs hovered like low-hanging clouds. No blooming allowed. Blossoms will be prosecuted. These brave plants grew just for me, grew in spite of a society that favored a monochromatic landscape. 1965, Mr. Brother Malcolm X was assassinated. Big word for a pre-kindergartner. I was convinced he must have been a dandelion. Reverend King too, and the Johnson boy who lived one turn down the street that way. The Johnson boy was shot by the police for growing in a monochromatic landscape. Training wheels off, bike riding across insecure cement. I pedaled the bumpy paths, waving solidarity to each surviving sunburst noggin, each fulfilling the promise to ornament lawns and floor soles with lemon drop hope. Dandelions bear art of endurance and escape, transforming into pearl puffs, floating with ephemeral intention, carrying the seed of the weed. 13 full moons faded into July. I am a proud weed. Yes, I declared that shocking proclamation standing in the pulpit on Youth Sunday, Vernon Chapel, AME Church. I added to my speech on David and Goliath, my impromptu improvisation of dandelion dogma. We are black dandelions who will never be destroyed. We grow the power of goodness for generations into the future. I yet remember the hat-framed faces of the pious, amused, and mortified. Okay? Now, would anyone like to say what they think the poem is about? And this will be your own feelings from the poem, so there is no incorrect answer. Would someone like to tell us what they think the poem is about? What you've gathered so far? Yes.
Civil rights.
So that's what you see for that? Okay, why is that?
As one of the themes, as we're talking about MLK, Malcolm X, and the boy down the street all being with the same kind of martyrdom that they're talking about, senseless death. This little girl growing up in a lot of senseless death, barely being able to pronounce the word assassinated, but it's a word that's part of her everyday reality all of a sudden.
Okay, that's very good. Someone else like to add to that?
My thoughts weren't that deep, but it seems that talking about a monochromatic landscape.
Yeah, I had to look that word up. That means everything is the same.
Taking the color away. And I was thinking about how when I was young, I loved the dandelions. And I made my mother bouquets of dandelions, and of course she had hay fever, so I soon learned that that wasn't really good. And then I started thinking about, yes, and now it kind of goes along with the civil rights, but like making everything the same, one color, and now we don't see dandelions anymore.
You know what? And then
because
was it the dandelions that we used to hold up to see if we like butter?
Yes. Yes. And now we get rid of them. I mean, nobody has dandelions. We rarely see them. So that, how that works into this, I don't know, but.
I don't fertilize, so I have dandelions. Yes.
My neighbors love me because dandelions are a sign of spring and my yard's full. Destroy them out of the ashes. Oh good, more dandelions. And I do not destroy them from my yard.
Oh, okay.
And that's one of the questions that kids have a lot of fun with this, like what's a plant and what's a weed?
Right.
Yeah, how does such a pretty flower that has so many abilities, right?
Right.
Yeah, people don't think about it because like you, I like the dandelion, and actually it is one of my favorite, and I'll call it a flower. Some people may disagree, but it is one of my favorites, and I find myself taking pictures of them. I'm particularly interested in them when they are coming through cracks in the sidewalk.
Yes.
Right, because this is a place where you wouldn't expect anything to grow, and you've got something growing there anyway. And I used to I used to pick them and give them to my mother as well. And as an adult, I found out that, the dandelion root is, or the dandelion leaves are actually pretty valuable. And so you have dandelion tea, who knew? You have salads made with dandelion greens, who knew, right? So here we are fertilizing and getting rid of these things, and they're growing right in our yards. We could be having good tea and good salads and eating healthy.
And don't they say the more you chop them down, the more they grow back?
Yeah,
Yes.
I know that is true.
And then when I was trying to pull them out, like just thinking about it physically, right? When you're trying to pull them out, you notice they're all connected underground.
Yes,
Yeah.
they
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for,
So they have a strength.
Yes, there is a
Yeah.
strength.
they have a strength.
Yes.
As long as the carrot I have
Yeah.
come out very, very strong.
Thank you all for sharing that. Now we're going to the next part, which is our goal, is to try to understand poetry better by looking at some poetic devices. So I do want to pass out the paper to them too. So we don't want you to get confused, but she did such an excellent job putting the poetic devices on screen. And I had already had them typed out for you, because sometimes I just like to have somewhere I can look at it and have it right in my hand. So we're going to pass out the devices. And I told my friend Carolyn that maybe I'm trying to teach too much. I probably should only did one, but it's 6. We're going to try to learn 6 of the devices.
Uh-oh.
But we'll do the best we can.
That's the teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to read through them first. Then I'm going to ask you to help me, and I'm going to also just come up with some of the devices that are in the poem. All of them are in the poem. They're evident in the poem. So the first one is persona. The persona is the speaker in the poem, the person who speaks in the poem. The persona is usually not the poet, and sometimes the persona is an unidentified narrator. So every poem, you won't be able to say, oh, it's a lady, it's somebody's daughter, it's somebody's mother. It's just the observer, an unidentified narrator. That's the persona. The next one is personification. You know, this persona had person in it, and personification has person in it too. Personification is a literary device, I'm gonna read mine first, where you give human qualities or actions or characteristics to something that is not human, like an object, an animal, or an abstract idea. The attribution of human qualities to inanimate objects. Abstract vices and virtues represented as persons. So that's personification. And when we'll go back, I'll show you some examples from the poem. Number 3 is imagery. The use of language to represent objects, actions, feelings, thoughts, etc. The easiest one is what you see in the poem. What images do you see? But there are also words that can have you hear something. It might be the crackle of a bell, or taste something. They might describe a certain taste. So anything that really, any words that the poet uses that appeals to the senses, that's imagery. And here's my favorite, alliteration. Figure of speech which the consonant, especially at the beginning of words or stressed syllables, are repeated. When she talked about her freedom fighters frolicking, that F was repeated, you know. So just repeating, and it's usually a consonant sound. However, I did see one definition that just said the repetition of a sound, because on Jeopardy, when they had alliteration, they had the answer was Adam's apple, and that is not a consonant. That's an A, Adams, and apple. And I said, well, that's not alliteration, but in some definitions, they don't just say consonant, they say the repetition of a sound, a beginning sound. So I guess they're okay. I didn't write to them anything.
You could have maybe got on there.
And the next one, number 5, is a metaphor. And a metaphor is a figure of speech which one thing is described in terms of another. And sometimes there are 2 things that are not alike at all. A metaphor is a figure of speech that makes a non-literal comparison between 2 unlike things, usually by saying that something is something else. That was mine. And the last one, metaphor. There are a lot of metaphors in this poem, a lot of metaphors. And I used to tell my students, metaphor, when they make that comparison, they don't use like or as. when we get to the next one, the last one, my students always thought simile was easier because it has a big clue, like or as. That's a simile. Simile is a word or phrase that compares something to something else using the words like or as. An expression comparing one thing with another, always including the words as or like. So a metaphor they may have had trouble with, but that as or like, and they're being compared, you know, that's a simile. So they always thought the simile was easier to identify than the metaphor. Okay? Now let me get my notes. We're going to go through the poem and see what oh, you know what? I am so neat. I put all of it in here. Okay, so you have your poems. We're going to talk about the persona again in the poem. Who is the persona? Anybody want to tell me? Who's the persona in the poem Black Dandelion? It's the little girl. Is it the little girl?
No, it's the writer.
It's not the writer. Remember, this is not the writer.
The dandelion.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is it the little girl? I thought it was.
Young child.
Huh?
I think it's a young child.
It's a young child that's actually telling the story?
Yes.
Okay, let's look at the poem.
Oh, you're saying
Oh, I
she's
see.
older?
Yeah.
She's older. Yeah, she's older. You're right. So that is her, and she's older, and she's talking about when she was 4. When she was 4. That's
Okay.
right.
See,
That's
we're
very
learning.
good. Okay.
I have to go back and
Here,
look
this
at
is,
the
you
poem.
get a Black Dandelion
Oh,
convergent voice button for doing that. So I had written a woman who discovered the meaning of dandelions when she was a child. Okay, so she's the speaker. Okay, what about, I see 2 examples of personification. Anybody see them? No, you do. Anybody see? Remember, personification again is a literary device where you give human qualities, actions, or characteristics to something that is not human, like an object, an animal, or an abstract idea.
She compared the dandelion being murdered with the lawnmower.
Yeah, that's right. A murderous lawnmower. That lawnmower, you know, does not have that quality. Well, I don't know. You don't usually think of a lawnmower having that quality to plot a murder. So that is personification.
It does murder the grass
It
or whatever
does.
else.
It does.
But
It really does. Now I saw one more in there. Let's see, what was the other one? Oh, the bees celebrated the return of the dandelions. Is that giving a human quality to bees? Bees celebrated the return of the dandelions. And I saw another one in there too. I'm gonna give it to you. The lion's tooth leaves paid tribute.
Oh, yeah.
That's in the second stanza. Flower and bouffant mirrored my spiky little afro. Jagged edge, lion's tooth leaves paid tribute. Like the leaves are paying tribute to someone. That's giving the leaves human characteristics.
Right.
And I have one last one that I want to say is personification. Let me see what stanza that. It starts off, these brave plants. Okay, it's in 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th stanza. These brave plants grew just for me, grew in spite of a society that favored a monochromatic landscape, giving them the quality of being brave. That was personification.
As the only male in the room, this was the gentleman over here. Why do we assume this is a female reading this?
You know what? I don't know. That's a good. You know what? I guess well, the spiky afro.
That's what guys or women do.
Yeah, the snagger tooth.
Everybody loses teeth.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I did think it was a girl. Okay, at
Because you're a girl.
church.
Maybe because we're all females.
Maybe so. You know, you're right. Let him have a butt. It could. You're right. It could have been an older person. So there's nothing in here that indicates that she is a girl.
No,
Dang.
it really isn't.
Nope, you know what?
She's a proud weed.
She's a proud weed. And I just always assumed it was a girl.
It's an I, not a she, it's an I.
There is no sex in there, because that actually, many of the letters were from boys. Many of the students, yep. So yeah, there's no sex in the poem. It's just, it's just an I.
Even further down it says we are black dandelions.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say girl or boy.
Yeah, no,
That
absolutely.
is very good. That is very good. Thank you for that.
There was another comment. Did you still have a comment?
I was just gonna make the comment, I know you know the author, so you think in terms of
Right.
what relates to you. If you're
Right.
a female reading this, many times you think in terms of a female if it's not explicit in the writing.
Right.
So consequently, this simply was a child growing into an adult, and that's the greatness of it, because then it works for anyone who reads it.
For anyone who reads it.
And that's actually, I'm going to piggyback on that. That's actually the beauty of a persona poem, of writing in the voice of I, right? Because it can be whoever you envision. And you know, when I think about myself, when I used to go to movies when I was a kid, right? Many of the heroes, the superheroes that we would see, they were always, you know, white men, right? Superman, Aquaman, Batman, right? But if you're a kid and you want to be the hero, right? I'm a little black girl, but I saw myself as Superman because I was the hero in the movie, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, anybody can be the hero. Anybody can be that.
And you know what's funny? It's like all those letters that were written in, and it was from children who were refugees from around the world, because America's just a bucket full of trauma, right? And so the way they adapted to this poem and totally identified with the violence in this poem, where like you're literally not allowed to live or exist, or I mean, for us to be able to recognize that there are kids in our classrooms outside, because I remember in the 90s, it was when the Eastern Europeans were coming into the Detroit public schools, and they were all sitting in the back of the classroom. They looked like these little white kids, but nobody had any idea that they just came from like this totally war-torn nation. I think this brought a lot of spirit out. The kids had unpacked a lot of trauma, which kind of allowed them to express and therefore want to write.
Absolutely. I've just rewound a little bit to one of the letters that we highlighted. This was again from a young boy who his ethnicity is he was Armenian, right? And so he's looking at and I don't know if anybody in here knows about the Armenian genocide, but they were under Turkish rule, and as things happen in the world, right? The Turks didn't like them, didn't want them there for whatever their reasons were. And so they began exterminating. Yeah, I hate to use that word, but yes, that's the word that's what they were doing, right? They were killing the Armenians because they were Armenian, right? And so this young kid reads this poem about a black dandelion, right? And he sees his family in that. There was another letter from a student who said, he wrote in and he said, I'm not a black dandelion, but my brother is, right? Because he's small and he's being bullied at school, right? So again, regardless of what your gender is or what your race is or your background or anything, right? Because there is nothing in the poem that says I am black or I am female or I am this or I am that, right? Except for being the dandelion, right? Anybody can see themselves in here. Right?
In fact, where's the word black and dandelion used together? Only once, right?
In the last stanza, we are black dandelions. I think that might be the only place. Our next word is imagery. So let's see if you can find some examples of imagery.
We have another hand raised.
I think we're going in the vision that this is about black people. This says black dandelion. Doesn't say black people.
Right. She just said, where was it black and dandelion written together?
Yeah, I don't think we can assume this is African American at all.
No, there are a couple of references.
Malcolm X.
It's funny that you say that, because one of her classes went off into color theory, and they started looking at the word black and analyzing it and looking at more of the supernatural and existential components of it, as well as black being an absorbing type of color. So kind of looking at it more nuanced. And then like some of us know, like when, of course, we were always called different shades of red before any of this ever happened. And that's still in the vestiges of our language, right? When I was born, like I was dark, so like, you know, the doctor told my mom she's a little on the red side, you know. So Bangladeshis in Japan are called black labor. Black is used around the world to denote people who don't belong there, who are temporary, who don't. And so when internationally kids come back with that word black, because a lot of times kids here get hurt when Caribbean kids and African kids come out, they're like, we don't like the word black. And they don't understand why, because we've been taught to affiliate with this word in a completely different way. Black in the international market means you don't belong here, period. So Bangladeshi boaters in Japan, they're considered black, you know.
And it's interesting that you bring that up, because certainly, yes, within language, right, we have this association with black and with white, right? Typically white is always good and black, like you said, is the negative thing. I happen to be, in addition to being a writer, I happen to be an engineer, and I was a physics nerd. And black is actually the absence of color, right? So white actually, in physics, right? White is a combination of all the colors, right? So white is not pure. It is everything. And black is actually the absence of light, right? So yeah, that's interesting,
And
because
you see that when you put that through that little prism, that glass
yes, ma'am.
prism, and then you see
Yes, ma'am. That is that experiment.
Can you all come up with some images for me, some examples of imagery? Remember, it's words that either helps you see something, hear it, touch it, taste, or smell.
How about the lion's tooth ears,
Yeah.
leaves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the snag-a-tooth smile.
Snag-a-tooth, yeah.
And the pearl puffs.
The what?
The pearl puffs.
I could see them. Remember how dandelions turn into that puffy thing that you blow away?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely. And you know what I put down for that, the one that to me relates to taste, is the lemon drop hope.
Right.
It said, each fulfilling the promise to ornament lawns and flourish souls with lemon drop hope. I can almost taste that lemon drop hope.
I also like the imagery for unspoken rules, like warning signs hovered like low-hanging clouds, no blooming allowed, blossoms will be prosecuted. We're not told that, but we know that. So like, you know, like the way, like these are signs for us, even though we're not told.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting because like when you look at things like, you talk about warning signs, when you think about things like caution tape, right? Regardless of what language you speak, right? Black and yellow, that means it's caution. Do not cross, do not go, right? We have, you know, red means stop, right? Regardless of what language, regardless of what country. Green, go, right? Yeah.
Our next one is alliteration, and those. Let's see, where's that? Is that second stanza? Perennial promises prevail. Now, perennial means it comes back again and again, right? Okay. Perennial promises prevail. And where's that one about the freedom? Oh, next stanza, third stanza. You see that? Me and my freedom fighting flowers frolicked.
Yeah.
There's 3 F's in that one. And there's another one I found where she's waving solidarity. And this one, they're not right together, but it's still alliteration. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, it is a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stanza number 6. Bike riding across insecure cement, I pedaled the bumpy path, waving solidarity to each surviving sunburst noggin. Solidarity, surviving, and sunburst. Sometimes they might be a word or a small word in between them, and it's still alliteration. And somebody already told us about the pearl puffs, the little puffs, pearl puffs. And then when she was at church and she was supposed to be doing David and Goliath, she was telling about her dandelion. She or he We're telling them about their dandelion dogma.
Well, and the impromptu improvisation, right?
Remember that one bothers me with the vowel, but I guess it is. I guess it is. She said impromptu improvisation, but I remember I told you I was always taught that it had to be a consonant, but evidently it can be a vowel too.
That was assonance.
Huh?
Not that I'm swearing.
That's assonance is inside, but this is the beginning letter.
Oh, this is killing.
The beginning letter. Oh, the frame faces. Oh, but
Yeah, she has a lot of F in this poem, throughout the poem. I mean, so there's a lot of alliteration, but she returns to that F sound a lot. And you see that in a number of the stanzas.
I want Terry to have a button.
Who's Terry?
I didn't even get that one, Terry. Frame faces, and I've been over this poem over and over again.
You're welcome.
Now we get to a little bit more interesting part. What about some metaphors? Where's metaphors in this poem? If something is being compared to something and you're just saying the thing is that, you're not using like or as.
Feeling the blade, I fell curled like a snail in grief. It's a dandelion.
Okay, what's being compared? You want to say
The dandelion is being compared when it was chopped like a snail. It's in the first part.
Third line.
Okay, now you know that fell curled like a snail is a simile though. Remember
It's a
that's
different word.
yeah, that's a simile because it's got like or as in it.
Oh.
You see?
I've got one that I can point out. I
Yeah.
think.
So hold on, we're gonna do simile in a minute, okay?
Well, that's my answer for that.
Awesome. We got you. The twinkling ground stars.
What is being compared? What is being compared to the twinkling ground stars? What's being called twinkling ground stars?
So that's in the first stanza, the second line.
Well, the flower is a star, but it's in the ground, it's not in the air.
Right. You're right. It's the dandelion.
Exactly.
The dandelions. You're right. You're right.
Still the dandelion.
Huh?
I said it's still the dandelion.
It's still the dandelion, but she's calling it a star that's on the ground. That's the
Oh, you've
comparison.
already got one. You want a second one?
But you can give that to somebody else. I'll
Okay.
share it to them.
Okay. Awesome. What's your name?
Eula.
So, my mother's best friend is named Eula. So Eula's sharing her button. Does somebody not have a button that would like a button?
Give it to Althea.
Are you Althea? All right, Miss Althea. There you go.
Thank you.
Today I'm generous.
Okay, what about, what is that 12 moons folded into spring? What is that? It's a year, right? So, is that a metaphor? Is that another way of comparing
Yeah.
the passage of time in a year? 12 moons folded, 12 full moons. Because we do have a full moon every month, right? I haven't kept track of it. But a full moon every month, so 12, we don't?
13, yeah, 13.
We have 13 in a year.
You got 13 in a year?
Yes. And this is just a description of time. It's not a metaphor.
But it does say 13 in here.
13 is down in the other
Yeah,
one.
13 full moons faded into July.
I was wondering about that. So you say that's not a metaphor?
I don't think it's a metaphor. It's just a description of time.
I think it's called the comedy. When you
I am a
use-
proud weed.
A full moon is.
It sure is. I am a proud weed. Let her have one too.
I
She
got
said-
one.
Oh, she got one. I am a proud weed.
Somebody else. Give it to
That
the other
is-
Sharon.
I got one
Oh, you
too.
got one too.
Oh, that
Okay,
definitely
we
is one.
gotta help you. What's your name?
Peggy needs one.
Peggy, all right,
She can
help
have
me,
my
give me
second
an answer. We're gonna help Peggy. Peggy's gonna get a button.
Okay, we're going to finish up with simile,
Where are
and
you?
you already got that one in the first stanza.
Yeah.
Feeling the blade, I fell, curled like a snail in grief.
So
Curled like a
Q,
snail.
just tell us where the as or the likes are.
I only found one more like. See if you can find it.
Curled like a snail, but she already mentioned that one.
Yep.
you do the
We
wrong
need a new
signs?
one.
You need a new one.
We need a new.
No, we didn't do that one yet.
Here's one.
What stanza is that, Terry?
4.
Does it
Warning
stand for-
signs hovered.
Yep.
Like,
Like low-hanging
Low-hanging
cloud.
cloud.
That is such a good comparison too.
Yeah.
You can really see that.
Yeah.
You
All
can
right,
really
Miss-
see that.
it's Peggy.
Warning signs,
Thank
hovering
you.
like
You are so
low-hanging
welcome. I tried
clouds.
so
That's
hard.
good.
congratulations.
Thank you.
It's good.
Right.
With help.
Question for you.
All right, do we need to ask any other questions so that somebody else who doesn't have a button can get a button? You don't have a button, do you? We need to ask another one.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Yes, the line where it says the Johnson boy was shot by the police for growing in a monochromatic landscape. Aren't you comparing the boy who was growing up in a
Don't want
landscape?
that there.
He was growing up in what?
Monochromatic landscape.
Right, so what, you said,
I'm saying if they're comparing the boy's life compared to the landscape.
oh, okay, and what's the landscape stand for? Like the
The changing
world, like the,
evolving landscape.
I think you're onto something, but maybe not
It's
quite. So
not
they're
quite the
yeah, they're comparing the landscape
cause she
To
says it
environment.
twice
to
too.
life in general.
Yeah.
She says it
Right.
twice, monochromatic landscape. I was, well,
Yeah.
I figured out, well, she
Yeah,
says it
that's what
twice.
the comparison
She says, grew up in a society that favored a monochromatic landscape, and this boy who, the police shot because he grew up in a monochromatic landscape. Boy was shot by the police for growing up in a monochromatic landscape. And I know monochromatic means the same.
Yeah, just one color. So
One
basically,
color.
and chroma is color. So basically, she's almost talking about here. Typically, you would see, dandelions are yellow or actually other colors, but you've got the green stem, you've got the green grass. If you look around you, all the books, everything, all the people,
what's funny?
we're all colored, right?
Remember Ella May?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Same.
when she was in art school at Wayne State, true story, her art professor came up and told her, you are not allowed to use yellow this semester. Monochromatic landscape. Oh, was that
Yes.
liberating for her?
Yes. So it means a single color. And so if you can imagine, right, today we have color TV, but when TV came out, it was just black and white, right? And so if you had just a monochromatic landscape, there's only one color that is out in the world, right? That's what she's talking about. And so, and when you think about the color of the dandelion and other flowers, other weeds, right, they come in various colors, right? Oranges and blues and purples and all sorts of things. And she's saying that the poem is talking a little bit about, earlier we talked about civil rights, but we've also got a component of, it's a bad word today, but I'm gonna say it, diversity, right? So you've got some difference in there, you've got some diversity, different colors of people, different types of people, different ages of people, different genders of people, right? Got all that diversity out there. And she's saying that no, he was diverse, but he was shot down because he lived in a society that favored just one color. So instead of having all the colors you see on the bookshelf behind you, nope, just one color, just one.
Gray. Gray.
And when I think about this particular sentence, if you turned it into not just colors, but we can talk about thought or outspokenness. If you're in a quiet area and there's, keep your mouth closed, you don't speak up. And here's someone who grows up and starts to speak out about what they believe or injustices that they see in the world that's happening, and it's not liked. And I'm just gonna compare that to what happened with the tennis star doing her dance. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Serena.
Oh, the little cryptic.
So there was a point in time in her celebration, she did that dance.
She did it again on the football field.
And the world frowned upon that. Move it to a more recent time, she does exactly the same dance on a different stage, and everybody was, oh, how wonderful that all is. So when I look at this sentence, it's kind of the same thing, but at that point in time, we're mowing you down, we're stopping you, we're shutting you off. That's a bad thing, don't do that. So she's using the comparison of colors and flowers. But then if you just turn it into ordinary conversation, it's what's happening and what you see and what you say and how you appear and how you show up in the world.
That brings up a really interesting point that I think is important too, is that you know, she does mention like a passage of time in the poem, and she doesn't necessarily bring this point out, but things change, right? Times change, and so just as the young lady back here mentioned, right, there was a point in time when you had Serena do the crip walk, and it was a bad thing, right? And you know, here, let's come forward 10, 15 years, she does it again, and it's more acceptable, right? It's more palatable now, right? Things change all the time, right? Absolutely, absolutely. All right.
Okay.
Did you get a button? You got a button, didn't you?
No.
Would you just like to have one? You answered a couple of questions.
You and your brother came dressed like a dandelion.
You got that?
Okay, we need to ask at least one more question because I have one button left. That means somebody in here doesn't have a button, so we need to, if you don't have a
No, they
button.
can get a button for answering these questions. Too.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Okay, you have a little package of excerpts and poems. Now, 2 of the poems were written by me, I think. Yep, 2 of them were written by
Did you
me.
just pass those out?
And then we have some other people. I passed them out.
Thank you.
I wasn't doing that. I know we have time. But now this time, if you answer a difficult question, you get a black dandelion convergent voice.
Oh, wow.
Yes, okay. Okay, so look at the first one. Yeah. It's up here if you need to look too. Landlord, my roof has sprung a leak. Don't you remember I told you about it way last week? I need somebody to tell me who is the persona. Who is the persona?
Who's speaking?
Who's speaking in that poem?
The owner
Sounds
of the
like a
house.
renter.
Okay, well, too many of you said it. So. Hold on, maybe people could raise their hands so one person can say it at a time. But that was good. The tenant or the renter. That was very good. That was very good. Okay, now just one person tell me, give me an imagery from that poem.
Who answered that?
Nobody got it because too many people answered.
Oh, okay.
Water coming through the ceiling.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see now. This is a part of a poem that I wrote. She's gonna put it on the screen, but it's right here. This is a poem. You know, I wrote this poem and it was chosen to be in this little journal, the Sisters of Color.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where this poem was. And it was so funny. I am not the persona in this poem, but it was really odd the way it came. It's really about my cousin of mine.
What to tell them who the persona is?
Oh, well, no, I think I wasn't going to ask that with this one. I don't think. Wait a minute. Let me get my cheat sheet. I don't think yes, I do. I want to know the persona.
Okay.
But they won't know. It's a certain word you have to put in the persona.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's read the poem. Once, long ago, we gathered at the top of the stairs and planned the rescue of our baby sister from our mother, who was too tired and who had just too sharply spanked her too fussy baby. Okay, I do want the persona, but it's got to be a specific persona.
Was that you?
The older sister?
Were you the one that was smacked? Or were you
Okay, does it say that it was a girl that was?
Oh, no, it doesn't.
It says our baby sister.
Just a sibling.
Not the older sibling. That's it. It's an older sibling.
Oh, you got
An
it.
older
Miss Peggy,
sibling.
you're on a roll now.
Thank you. How
Okay.
nice. I can use that.
When people win one book, they can't get another one.
Oh.
So I would be just like
So
Mary
don't
at
be
the
greedy.
recreation center.
So you can always answer
Don't be greedy.
Okay,
Okay, I was only expecting.
Just got more books.
That's just like Mary. I might try to take over her job. Can somebody give me a imagery? I think I'll ask for imagery in that one.
They're all standing at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
They're all.
The imagery, I really like
Oh, I
what
get one
you can
too.
see.
You get one too.
Oh my God.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, they gathered at the top of the stairs.
But I don't want
Okay, next is the nursery rhyme. Mary had a little lamb. I don't need a persona because there isn't one. It's an unidentified narrator, so there's no persona.
Oh, okay.
Mary had a little lamb, his fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. Do we have a metaphor or simile in there?
The baby, the sibling was always right there to try and rescue her.
This is a different
No,
poem,
no.
Eula.
Oh.
The fleece.
Oh, okay.
What?
The fleece.
The fleece was what?
White as snow.
Okay.
Yes.
Now you got a book already,
I know.
right?
Would you like to donate your book to somebody
Yes.
else? I'll take it.
Whoever would like it, she would.
Okay.
That was it for that one.
Nice charity thing.
Fleece was white as snow. Okay. Okay, this next one is a very famous poem by Langston Hughes. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? Huh?
on my body.
So let's see, it really doesn't have a persona. It's an unidentified observer, but what does it have about four of in it?
Smell.
No?
Imagery?
Well, yeah,
It's got imagery, you're right, it's got imagery in it, like rotten meat,
Sore.
yeah, but it's another device, a poetic device you're missing. It's not metaphor. What's the other one? Yeah, you see that?
Simile.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Simile.
like. Now this one might be a metaphor, or does it explode?
Yeah.
So that was.
She declined the book.
She
So,
declined the book.
yeah, would somebody else like to have a book that does not have one? You, okay, wonderful.
Yeah, I was, I really hadn't noticed that it had that many similes in it before. I used to really, I have always loved this poem because it's talking about what happens to a dream deferred, a dream that you don't get. What happens to those old dreams that you never, went through with, you never fulfilled? So he was right on the money with that.
They're like a race.
Oh, this one right here, number 5, it's called Dawn. An angel robed in spotless white, bit down and kissed the sleeping night. Night woke the blush, the sprite was gone. Men saw the blush and called it dawn.
Oh, that's pretty.
So, I'm not looking for a metaphor, I'm not looking for a simile, I'm looking for something else, one of the other literary poetic devices.
Personification.
Yes. Why?
Because they're comparing the dawn like to a person, like an angel.
Well, really night. Night is
night.
night. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Night woke, like night just woke up. He woke up and they saw the blush and men called it dawn.
Yeah.
That is it, personification. Okay.
Would you like to donate your book? So you already have one. Would you like
Sure.
to donate this to somebody? Would you like a book, Chris?
Sure.
You're so smart.
Now, the next one is a poem that I wrote. And Eula, I wrote this poem for Carolyn's oldest daughter. That's my goddaughter. My friend Carolyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, her oldest daughter is my goddaughter. And it's called Beautiful as Spring. And her name is Tisa Losi. And it means beautiful as spring. So I wrote this girl is 50 now.
Oh,
So I wrote this way back then.
Yeah.
And she had her at 75. I wrote it when she was 1. So about 76.
You're
Yeah.
old now.
I know she got old. She got old, not me. I just stayed there. Okay, here it is. Let's see what you're gonna see here. Little brown, and again, it's just a unidentified narrator. No real persona. Little brown baby girl, fat face, soft. Wait, hold on a second. I'm gonna start over.
Start over.
Little brown baby girl, fat face, soft. You are a song of innocence among the trees of desperation. In life, we cope with hardships daily and almost never-ending frustration for all. But if reality can claim and hold one subject plain before the sun to make life milder and true, it would be you. Little brown baby girl, fat face, soft.
Oh,
Now we have a couple things in there, don't we? What you see?
We got a hand over here.
Oh, Chris.
It's a metaphor. You are a song of innocence.
Yes. You see any alliteration?
Yeah.
The little brown baby girl.
Brown baby. Mm-hmm.
And the fat face.
Fat face. Anybody see any personification?
You are a song?
Well, he did that. That was a metaphor.
Oh,
a song
okay.
of innocence.
Okay.
Yes.
I see reality claiming something.
Yes. It says for all, but if reality, like reality as a person, can claim and hold one subject plain before the sun, it would be you. So that is the personification.
Okay.
Let me see if I find anything else in there.
That's a really nice poem.
Darolyn,
Which one?
you are talented.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now I2, is I2 next? Okay, now this one has a persona. Okay. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. Who is the persona?
You know what, we're missing the
We're
besides.
missing the end.
The end of it, we're missing.
We don't have
Besides,
besides.
they'll see.
Oh, you know what? Because I only did an excerpt, but she put the whole poem
Oh,
on the
okay.
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she has really, really good computer skills. Really, really good. I said she had mad skills. So I'm still waiting on that persona.
Do we still get an A?
You got a button and a book, that's all that we can give you now is an A.
Smile.
Yes,
I got
it's
an A.
you. You get an A.
Who's speaking in the poem?
The darker brother. He's
Which
the
would
brother.
be
Absolutely.
probably a black man.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the persona. Do we have any metaphors in there? Is some being compared? What does it mean to tell somebody to go eat in the kitchen?
That they're a servant.
That they're a servant and that you want them away.
Right.
Don't be in the living room. Don't be in the dining room.
Right.
Go away.
Right.
Go where you can't
I'm
be
embarrassed
seen.
by you.
Don't
Yeah.
Right.
forget the company, yeah.
Right, when company comes, you go and eat in the kitchen. You stay away.
Right.
That's a metaphor.
Mm.
That's what he was saying. He was making a metaphor because they didn't really say you eat in the kitchen. They just said you can't
Go
come
away.
with me. You can't be with us.
Yeah.
And so he
They
took that.
send
He
them
said
to the
he put it as a metaphor. And I always love that. I always love this poem, especially when he says, "But I laugh and eat well and grow strong." And then tomorrow, they won't do it. Tomorrow, in the future,
Right.
one day, they won't do that, and
Right.
they'll be ashamed. I love that poem by him.
Yeah.
I like Langston Hughes. And Lexi Hughes is the last one we're ending with. And I think we just have a little, oh no, she put, again, I only did the excerpt. Miss Professional, you know, she put the whole poem. I told you she has really good skills. But I'm glad she put the whole poem so I could read it. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time, I've been a climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps because you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So who is the persona? Who's speaking in the poem?
The mother of the son.
Or parent.
Or parent, yeah.
The parent, yeah, because it doesn't say it's,
Or an
well,
older
you know, the
person.
title gives you that clue that it's a mother.
Yeah.
But if you just looked at the
Yeah.
poem, you wouldn't.
Right.
But, okay.
But
And
it's
what-
like, keep going no matter what happens.
Right.
Yeah, the title's over there.
Okay.
Mother to son.
I
So
was
Not
looking at
letting
Well
anything
Son,
stop.
and I was thinking.
that it was a
look at the
father?
title, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Look
okay.
at the title.
Well, it doesn't say anything, but the title gives it away. But what about, what is being compared? What does she mean by life for me ain't been no crystal stair? What does that mean?
It hasn't been.
Right, because you can you imagine a crystal stair? How beautiful it would be, how smooth, and you could just walk up it with no problems. But her life has not been like that.
Most of ours have.
Right.
It's sort of like
Yeah,
people
nobody.
say a bed of roses, but listen, roses have awful big thorns.
They
Right.
sure do, don't
They
they?
do, they really do, you're
So
right.
if you're in a bed of
are
roses,
absolutely right.
You better not move.
So I'm trying to see if I have.
You might not want to move at all, right? Very
There's a
gingerly.
dandelion on the bottom.
There is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
how pretty.
that
I
is
like
pretty.
that.
And
You know,
one's got the puff and one's the regular one.
Oh, yeah.
What time do we have now?
Yeah, we can start, and then we're gonna see if we're gonna get somebody to read the poem. Okay. We were talking and we were thinking that, we would like to know if anyone would like to read the poem out loud for us.
That one?
No, this one.
Oh,
Oh, the
Black Dandelion,
Uh-huh.
our original poem. These other poems were just used as examples to teach you a little bit about the poetic devices. And how hopefully you know, can carry them on, and when you see them somewhere, you can tell somebody, oh, that's alliteration, huh?